Welcome back to Chasing Masculinity, the show where we reject passivity, live with conviction, and pursue the kind of strength that can't be faked. I'm your host, Colton Wutzke, and today we're talking about one of the most misunderstood and needed traits in a man's life: confidence. This is an episode that I've been wanting to do for a while now because of how important I think it is. And I want to start off by telling you something that most people won't. Confidence isn't about this arrogance. It's not loud. It's not about being this center of attention. It's not about that stereotypical confident man that you think of when you think of confidence. Confidence is about certainty. It's about knowing exactly who you are and what you're built for. And a man who walks with that kind of certainty doesn't need to posture. He doesn't need to perform. His life speaks for itself. But the problem is we live in a world where masculinity has been so suppressed and shamed, most people don't even know what real confidence looks like anymore. People think confidence is cockiness. We've traded tested strength for this curated image. We've told men to be quiet and agreeable and non-threatening, and then we're surprised when they either become cowards or collapse under this pressure of pretending. That's why Chasing Masculinity exists. This show isn't about shallow tips or a fake bravado. It's about helping men build lives of strength and responsibility and purpose. We're here to rediscover what it means to be a man. That means becoming the kind of man who can lead, the kind of man who can protect and who doesn't come back down when it matters. That means becoming the kind of man who can lead and who can protect. One of the rules in my 24 Rules of Masculinity is about drawing your line in the sand, deciding what you believe and refusing to bow to that sort of external societal pressure. That's confidence. Confidence isn't reactive. It's not about waiting until somebody challenges you to figure out who you are. Confidence is about already knowing, already being rooted, already being immovable. And if you want to understand what kind of man you were made to be, you've got to start with this truth. It's from 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. Let that sink in. You were not made to live in fear. You were not made to doubt yourself or to shrink back from challenge or to fold when the world starts pushing against you, which it will. You were made to carry power. You were made to walk with love. And you were made to exercise self-control, the kind of strength that governs your thoughts and your words and your actions like a man on his mission. Confidence, it isn't a feeling, it is posture. And today, I really want to talk about how to build it from the ground up as a man. All right, let's get into it. So to start, let's talk about the difference between true confidence and this sort of false confidence. I want to start with false confidence. It's this surface level confidence, and it's fragile. I think that's one of the biggest things is as we talk about what false confidence is, remember, it lives in a state of fragility, which means when something hits it too hard, it's going to shatter. And it's rooted in this external validation, like social media likes and follower counts and compliments and designer clothes, something that screams, look at me. I'm doing this because I want you to look at me, or I need you to look at me. And that will lead to that confidence being easily shaken when those sources dry up, when the fuel on the fire stops. That confidence becomes shaken. It's also loud and defensive, this false confidence. There's consistent and there's constant talking, and there's constantly trying to convince others that you are this whatever. You're showing off these achievements to compensate maybe for whatever inner doubt. It's very boisterous and external. It's outwardly. Everything is pointing outwards. And it's also built on comparison. This is a big one. The am I better than him instead of am I becoming who I'm meant to be? And that obviously is going to lead to things like envy and anxiety and burnout. And this is something that I think a lot of men do naturally. There's a natural comparison. You could compare it to some sort of tribal trait or some sort of evolutionary whatever about how men had to be fighting to be the dominant one and constantly comparing themselves to that person. But really, I think I just boil this down to it's a masculine trait that we need to fight against. That's that comparison of others, the comparison of other men that you see in your life. Are they providing more than I am? Do they drive a faster car than I am? Do they have a bigger house than I am? It seems to be inescapable from men, but it's something that you have to learn to fight against because that is false confidence. If you are building your confidence on the comparison to others, that's that fragility. It is fragile under pressure. This confidence is going to crack when your audience leaves or when failure eventually comes. Instead, you have to have true confidence that's deep and this quiet strength. It is anchored in identity. It's anchored in you, in your identity. It comes from knowing who you are, what you believe, and what you are built for. It's that purpose that you are aware of. It doesn't require this constant validation to remain strong. It doesn't need it. It's irrelevant. You already know. And it's built through testing. It's not a show car. It's a hardened off-roader. It's proven its worth through deeds and through action. It comes from struggle. It comes from sacrifice and from these repeated proving grounds where it's refined itself into something. The internal proof is if you've ever faced something and you think, well, I faced worse. I can handle this. That's that battle-hardened confidence. And it doesn't need to speak to be felt. Be the man who can be silent in a room and still command respect. That goes back to the very last rule, Rule 24, my 24 Rules of Masculinity. The second part is how a wise man is not the first to speak. Having that wisdom is going to be directly tied to your confidence because it's visible by others, and that will make you feel confident, and it will make you actually look confident because you actually are confident, having that wisdom. And that comes from not being the loudest and most boisterous one in the room. And honestly, it's going to make people think, wow, he has certainty in his purpose. He doesn't need my approval. He doesn't need the approval of men. This confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. That's a big aspect of confidence, is if you are not true to yourself, well, then that degrades confidence right there. You have to have self-trust because that equals self-respect, which is going to equal confidence. That's why it's so important to keep promises to yourself. Every promise kept is like a deposit in the bank of confidence. Waking up when you said you were going to wake up. Finishing that workout even when no one's watching. That means that last rep or that last set that you really don't want to do anymore. And avoiding the things that you said you'd quit, like porn or gossip or laziness or just generic excuses. You know when you are not staying true to the promises you've kept yourself, and that only hurts you. Every broken promise chips away at your belief that you are a reliable man. That is another part of confidence. You can't expect others to follow you when you can't even follow yourself. We talked about Rule 17, drawing your line in the sand from the 24 Rules of Masculinity. That is when you define your values and then you follow them constantly, and others are going to recognize that in you as a strength. Confidence isn't situational. It's not something that when something comes up, when the situation arises, then you come up with it. It's principled. It's already there. It's already a foundation that exists, not something you have to pull from your deck when the moment comes. And this discipline, it's so much greater than hype. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. It's there no matter what. James Clear said, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Think of a man who wakes up and trains every morning. He doesn't wonder if he's capable. He knows he is. His system is there that tells him that he is. The battle is already won before the days even begin, because he knows no matter what, I'm getting up tomorrow at 5 a.m. and I'm going to go crush an hour and a half workout before work. This internal scorecard is greater than whatever external applause that you could get. That's a part of that fragile or external confidence. The quiet wins that are slowly stacked daily. It's those atomic habits that are built every single day. That's what builds this unshakable belief that you are, or that you have, confidence. This masculine confidence is forged in fire, not comfort. You must struggle to grow. Comfort, it's the death of masculine confidence. If you never test yourself, you'll never trust yourself, because how will you actually know? There will always be a seed of doubt. This fire equals adversity, difficulty, and challenge, like starting a new business, or leading even when you're exhausted, or confronting sins in your life, or initiating hard conversations, or standing firm on your beliefs. All of these are their struggle. All of these come from a place of struggle, not a place of comfort or placidity. And that builds confidence. Think of some biblical examples of how confidence is forged in this fire of struggle. David, as a shepherd, faced lions and bears before Goliath. His confidence was earned, not imagined. Paul endured beatings and imprisonments and shipwrecks and still wrote of the joy and purpose of his mission in life. There's also historical examples of how this confidence is forged in fire, like the U.S. Navy SEAL training. They say under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. That's why we train so hard. There's a reason for it. There's a reason they push themselves to the actual brink of insanity and failure. It's because it's through that struggle that they build confidence. George Washington was forged through loss of war and leadership. He was under constant pressure. He wasn't a great leader because he was a great leader. He was a great leader because of the struggle he had to endure that made him a great leader. These hard paths produce hard men. If you're torn between two paths, pick the harder one, because if the easier path were the right one, you'd have already chosen it. That was a quote from Alex Hormozi I've used a few times. It's because this comfort, it teaches you to doubt yourself, when challenges are going to teach you to depend on God and the strength He's given you, and to grow in that strength. Confidence without this resistance, without having it been built through, I'm not saying it has to be built through the most treacherous levels of hell and fire, but I'm saying confidence that you manifest without actually having put it to the test, it's fake. Like muscle, confidence has to be stretched and broken down and rebuilt. Relating it to the gym, it's like progressive overload is building strength. You're slowly building up an increased amount of struggle for your muscles, and that's how they increasingly grow in size and strength. Or in life, there's these progressive challenges that are slowly going to build your confidence. You're slowly adding more to your plate to grow. And that's why you need to have a strong identity. The role of identity in confidence is fundamental so you don't get lost. You can't be confident if you don't know who you are or what you stand for. Identity is the root system of masculine confidence. Without roots, you get blown away by culture or pressure or opinion or emotion. You are going to be able to just go with the flow. Most men today are trying to be confident while still outsourcing their identity to women or trends or social media approval. If you're unsure who you are, confidence will always feel like this sort of act. That's where the principle of drawing your line in the sand is so important. Your line are your non-negotiables. It's your values. It's your mission. It's the thing that you will not back down to no matter what happens. If you lose everything, that's still your line. A man with no line in the sand is a man with no backbone. He's not confident, he's cooperative. He's not courageous, he's compliant. He's a good little factory worker. Confidence comes from standing on the ground that you've claimed as yours, not floating with every new wave or idea that happens to be the current mainstream flow. Men who haven't wrestled with their values are going to default to things like people pleasing, saying yes to things they don't believe in or that they don't want, or letting other people, like the women in their life or their bosses or influencers, dictate what being a man means. If you're letting somebody else tell you what being a man means and they're not a man, then your integrity is immediately compromised. Men who haven't wrestled with their values are also going to default to posturing. That's acting confidence. That's that fragile or external confidence while feeling hollow inside because there's nothing there. It's built on nothing. It's overcompensating in their status or lifestyle because they don't actually have a spiritual or moral certainty that is their grounding foundation. The formula I like to use is confidence equals clarity plus conviction plus action. So that clarity is I know who I am, but that conviction is I know what I stand for. And then it goes to action, which is I will live it out. Even under that pressure, I will keep my line in the sand. You have to root your identity in what cannot be shaken, and that's going to be faith. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." It's your purpose. Why are you here? What are you building, even if it's yourself? And your mission. What hill are you willing to die on? Most men of the past were confident because their lives were anchored in some sort of cause. Today's confidence just dies with comfort. You have to contrast what real versus performative confidence is too. Confidence from Instagram likes are temporary, they're fickle, and, let's be honest, they're insecure. Confidence from living in alignment with your convictions, it's steady, but it's also quiet, and it's immovable. Comparison is confidence's kryptonite. Comparison destroys clarity and kills gratitude. When you're watching everyone else's race, you're going to forget to run your own. Comparing your life to someone 10 steps ahead of you is just going to poison your ability to appreciate how far you've come yourself. Think of the gym. If you're on day 30, you can't compare yourself to somebody's year 5. They're going to be night and day. Comparison is the thief of joy. That was Theodore Roosevelt. It's also your thief of confidence. That's because your growth is going to become invisible when your eyes are always on others. You start to believe that you're behind, even if you are winning in your own lane. Confidence is going to grow as you track your progress, and that means your progress. Ask yourself, am I better than I was last month? Not am I better than this competitor of mine or this person I've built up being the enemy that we have to go toe-to-toe with. No. Ask yourself, am I better than I was last time interval? And that's how you build your own internal scorecard. How often am I showing up on time? Did I keep my word this week? Am I being a better man, a better brother, leader, a better steward than I was 6 months ago? Now, this isn't for this self-gratification, but what it's doing is it's allowing you to recognize how far you've actually become, and that's going to build your confidence naturally in your own ability because you are going to go back through reflection and recognize that struggle that builds confidence. Going through the struggle to build confidence means nothing if you don't actually recognize that it was a struggle and how much you've grown past it. You have to practice this gratitude and reflection. You have to write down your wins from your week or celebrate your small victories. Somehow reflect on what you've actually had to overcome, not just what you haven't reached yet. And that's why social media is honestly a trap. These platforms are built to provoke comparison. There's the highlight reels versus your everyday behind the scenes life. They're completely different. That's why I think it's important to detox regularly if it's not something that you can separate from your regular life. You have to protect your focus and to protect your self-worth from what social media imposes to endanger your journey of confidence. Brotherhood is also going to build confidence. You don't have to be confident in isolation. You shouldn't. Confidence thrives in a community. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. The right brotherhood is going to do things for you. It's going to do these three main things. One, it's going to raise your standards. So being around strong, disciplined, mission-driven men forces you to level up. Weak men are going to drag you into apathy, but strong men are going to pull you into purpose. And the second thing it's going to do is reinforce your identity. So good brothers are going to remind you who you are when you forget. They're going to speak truth over lies. You've got this. You're better than this. This isn't who you are. They're going to be honest with you. And that's going to reinforce your identity. And the third thing that the right brotherhood does is holds you accountable. Real confidence includes being confronted, not coddled, but called up. Your brothers are going to lovingly call you out. And you need that. So how can you personally apply this? Well, you can share how finding mentors or male friends has helped solidify your confidence. There were moments when I didn't believe I could lead, but someone I respected believed in me, therefore I could stand on my own. These sort of things allow you to reflect on how isolation makes this insecurity worse and how brotherhood actually builds strength by this force and encouragement. You have to recognize the actual application of brotherhood in your life. Now, fair warning, not all groups build confidence. Some are going to keep you stuck. You have to surround yourself with men who challenge you, not who enable whatever behavior you're currently exhibiting or whatever indulgent activities you want to try to take up. That's not a group of brothers that are going to incentivize or pull you to become better. You have to leave circles where your growth makes others uncomfortable because you're never going to be able to grow. So let's talk about how we can apply all of this in our day-to-day life. Where am I pretending to be confident, but I'm actually afraid? It's the first question you should ask yourself. And be ruthlessly honest. Identify the areas you talk big, but actually feel small. Maybe that's in relationships or your leadership ability or your ability to make hard decisions in a moment's notice. Or it could just be your day-to-day discipline. Next is action steps. You're going to pick 1 to 3 of these to really hone in on. One is to rebuild self-trust. You can identify one habit or promise that you just keep breaking repeatedly. Whatever that's wake up on time, your workouts, your porn addiction, your prayer life, your reading, your cold showers, whatever it is. Keep that promise to yourself every day for 1 week. Just 1 week, set a reminder on your phone, whatever it is you have to do, just for 1 week only, rebuild that self-trust in yourself by just picking one of those habits that you just have not been doing, even though you've been telling yourself you were. Another thing you could do is do something hard on purpose. That could be train in discomfort. That could be cold showers or fasting for 24 hours. Or do some sort of public speaking or having a hard conversation, something that you really don't want to do. Let that resistance become your reminder that you are actually growing. The third thing that you could do is clarify your beliefs. So write down just 3 things you believe about who you are, truly who you are. Go back and listen to Rule 17 if you need some further clarification on this. But then you can ask yourself, do my daily actions actually match this identity that I've just written down for myself? If they don't, you're going to have to realign. And don't lie to yourself and call it confidence. You have to actually do it. You have to actually write down what you mean, honestly analyze your current life, and actually adapt to realign yourself with what your identity truly is. And then the fourth thing that you could do is lean into brotherhood. So call or message one brother today. Confess a weakness or a fear. Ask him to remind you of your strength or to pray for you or to challenge you. And you can do the same for them as well. Those are 4 things that you could do to start right now, today, rebuilding your confidence. You could do all of them. You could do one of them, whatever it is. Pick something and just do it. It's going to help you in the long run, no matter how uncomfortable it is now. That's the fire you have to walk through to build confidence as a man. And as a closing reminder, confidence is not built in a single breakthrough. It's the result of showing up and doing it every single day. That's that quietness and consistency in building confidence over time, because that's what makes it immovable. You have to do it brick by brick, rep by rep, promise by promise. You have to just keep going. Real confidence, it's not loud. It's lived. It's not about how you speak or what you post or how many people notice when you walk into a room. It's about how you carry yourself when no one's watching. In the way you keep your word when it's inconvenient. In how you hold the line when the world tries to move it. You have to know who you are. You have to get clear on your identity, your mission, your values, and draw your line in the sand. Then you have to test that identity through discipline, keeping those promises to yourself, embracing the discomfort, doing the hard things on purpose, and surrounding yourself with the brothers who are going to sharpen you. The confident man isn't self-made. He's forged in the company of other strong men. So stop performing and start becoming. Don't pretend to be confident. Do the work that actually builds it. Because confidence isn't something that you're just born with. It's something that you build one rep at a time, one hard decision at a time, one tested value at a time. So wherever you are in your journey, just remember, keep chasing masculinity and keep becoming the man that you can trust. I'll see you guys next time.